Came out hard at the beginning. We came up 14-0. We let off the pedal a little bit. Coach, we got in the locker room, got onto us. We got our heads back together, came back and fought back in the second half.
Those kids, they fought back, and that's what I challenged them at halftime with. I told them to come back in this third and fourth quarter and get after it, and that's what they did.
And welcome into the Lincoln Playbook. We are now in week 3, and Coach, your guys had a huge win Friday night over the Alexandria Valley Cubs. You heard from Zay Caldwell earlier. In the soundbite, you'll hear from him a lot. Coming up a little bit later here on the Lincoln Playbook, he is our special guest player. But first of all, Coach Brad Wallace of the Lincoln Golden Bears, a huge win here in week 3 of the season, picking up your second regional win.
I tell you what, anytime you go to Death Valley and come out with a win, I mean, it's always exciting. It's actually my first win there.
Right.
We talked about it before the game. I said, this is the first time I will have an opportunity to take a win out of here, and
right.
This will be the first time this group of guys will have an opportunity. So, I mean, it was a first for a lot of us. The kids were excited for the game, and we started out really hard right at the beginning of the first quarter, and it kind of gradually, we had a little letdown in the second, but we picked ourselves back up.
One of the things that Zay said actually in that interview, we didn't play that part of it, but that Alexandria and Lincoln have been playing for a long time, haven't had back-to-back wins over Alexandria since the 60s. So, and that let me know, the players listening to you as you guys talked about the fact that, hey, this is a huge rivalry, and it's good to get those back-to-back wins.
It is. It really is, and it was something good for our program.
Right.
I mean, our kids, I challenge them with something every week. I mean, we talk about a word, or we've got something that we're working on for that week and working on ourselves, and they've really bought into it. And
right.
I mean, and that's the one thing that I keep seeing out of these kids, and I keep telling is, hey, they're buying into what we're preaching. I keep telling our coaches that. I said, they keep excitement going on around you.
For sure.
That way these kids will feed off of you too.
Absolutely. 44-32 was the final. It was one of those kind of games where the momentum swung one way and the other way and the other way. Just talk about the flow of the game.
Man, it was a slugfest.
Yeah.
At number one. I mean, it was almost like one of those heavyweight boxing matches. And I told our guys before we even started the game, I said, this is going to be 4 quarters. I mean, these guys, if you make mistakes, they're going to take advantage of your mistakes, and they did. They really, I mean, they took advantage of we had a few blemishes right in there, and they got some points on us and took the lead away from us, and luckily our kids fought back at the end.
You got a big region win. Talk about that factor of it too.
I mean, I think the paper said it this week. This is one of the key victories, whether you're going to be in the playoffs or not. Which Alexandria's nowhere out of the playoffs right now. But I mean, it's a big win for our program to have an opportunity to get in the playoffs.
For sure. When you take a look at just the way the team is maturing from the Pell City game until this game, talk about some of the things that are standing out.
Our main thing is we're trying to learn to finish, and the one thing that I saw out of our kids is there was never a dropping of our heads. I challenged them at halftime. I said, it's time for us to get back in this ball game,
right.
and which they had the momentum. We had to knock some of that off at the beginning of the third quarter. And we had Big D stripped the fumble right there at about the middle of the third quarter, and I think that's when the tempo kind of went our way, and our kids took advantage of it and fought through it in end of the third, beginning of the fourth quarter, and we took full advantage of it. Absolutely.
You will see all those highlights coming up next on the Lincoln Playbook. And of course, this show is brought to you by our fine sponsors. One of them is Luxury Auto Parts. They've been in business for the last 15 years. Lee McClain is the owner of the business, has over 20 years of experience in the car business. They sell rebuildable wrecks. They also have any part that you might need. The part yard is over 50 acres long. They'll have ready-to-go cars also at the LA Auto Auction in Lincoln, Alabama. You can call them at 205-763-1084 or 1-888-589-PARTS. Buy here, pay here, also available on some of their inventory. Visit them at luxuryautoparts.com. Back with more of the Playbook after the break. Welcome back to the Lincoln Playbook. A beautiful sky, beautiful Friday night at Lucedale Stadium as the Lincoln Golden Bears took on Anniston. And Coach Wallace, talk about just some of the things you wanted to see starting off as Lincoln got the ball you on defense.
I just wanted to start off fast, and I think our kids did. I mean, we started off with intensity and a lot of emotion, a lot of excitement. And gang tackling right here at the beginning, you can tell we had the first 2 series against them. We had 3 and outs, which gave our offense an opportunity to get back on the field. And this is Zay Caldwell, of course, coming down the field. But I mean, we did a real good job offensively, at least starting to get some momentum right at the beginning of the game.
Absolutely. This is our Pigskin Roundup Game of the Week. This is also another Game of the Week for another network as well. Just talk about just the intensity of this game, knowing there were so many eyeballs on it.
I mean, it was a battle. I mean, that was the one thing that I kept watching. I mean, it was a slugfest both ways. Both of us were making great contact with each other. And it was one of those ball games that you want to be a part of.
Absolutely. You're able to strike first there, getting the first 7 points of the game. Big tackle there by Jamario Howard as well. You get the ball back, you strike again.
Yes, sir. I mean, with this guy with the ball in his head, you never know what's going to wind up. He's our Nick Marshall. He makes us go. Quinn Carmichael, a young player for us, is coming out and helping us out with a little bit of quick passes, and he does a good job for us.
Up 14-0 at this point, and it's one of the situations where you look at it and you have to be pleased just the way that the team came out, fought all the adversity at the very beginning of the game.
Yes, sir. I mean, we really came out fast, and that was the main thing that excited me in this game. The only thing that this was kind of our little letdown a little bit right here. This is our second, we're close to our second quarter right here, and I don't know. I call it a letdown. We just kind of let off a little bit and kind of relaxed. And with a football team like this that we're playing, you can't relax. This is a playoff atmosphere. This is a playoff type team that we'll be facing. I mean, they're going to give us 4 quarters of football, and they're going to take anything that we give them. I mean, if we make mistakes, they're going to take that from us. This is Justin Knight has a great return right here to kind of get us started in the second quarter. We drive down right here, and I think Mason McLean has a great kick and gets us 3 points out of this. We kind of had a little stop right here. I mean, our momentum's kind of dwindling a little bit right there, but we're going to work on this. We talked about it when we came in at halftime. I mean, I even heard guys after the game were talking about the second quarter. We can't make those mistakes again.
Absolutely, and it's got to be great knowing that they had that awareness of it as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I've said it all year long. These kids are excited. I mean, and they listen, and I know sometimes they don't hear the things that's coming out of their mouth. But when we came back and we worked hard all the way up to halftime, and I mean, it kind of built up in me a little bit. And we had a conversation at halftime. We are not going to go out there and let this get away from us. We're better a ball team than we were playing in the second quarter, and that's what these guys did. Got a little tired right in here, and I tell you what, the 2 backs that have them 7 and 32, they run the ball really hard, and they give you everything they got, and they get in the end zone here, get close to us. I think it's 16-17 at this time.
Right, and then you see the first half of the first quarter the way it went, and you see the second quarter and the way it went, and I'm sure at this point you want to be able just to really stop the bleeding and get the ball back, create some more momentum for yourselves again.
You do, and it's almost like you want to stop the whole game for about 10 minutes and regroup, but you can't do that in football, of course. And but we had a bobble snap right here, got us in the bottom, kind of gave them the field position back, and I think that's what, if you go back and look at this game, if you look at the field position, that's what kind of set up all the drives for each team.
Right.
And whichever team it seemed like got it on the 50-yard line, that's the one that was going to score.
Absolutely. 24-17 is your score there in the first half. And, Coach, really up to this point, there's been a lot of points scored in some of the first halves of these games. Just talk about just the way that this kind of back and forth went. We talked about it being kind of like a heavyweight matchup between 2 power teams slowing one each other out.
That's right. I mean, during this game, we wanted to go ahead and set the tempo and try to at least go out there and get ourselves up and get some confidence about ourselves. That was one thing I challenged our kids at the beginning of the game. We've got to go out and set the tone instead of waiting to see what's going to happen during the game. And they did it at the beginning of the first quarter, and we're going to keep working and keep working. I've already said this many times. If our kids will get better as the weeks progress, we'll get better as a football team.
Absolutely. When you saw everything they did in the first half, was it about mirroring what you saw on tape? Anything that you had to adjust to mid-game?
Well, we've played Alexandria for the last 2 years, and I mean, I'll say it again. They do what they do,
right?
And they're going to give it to you, and they do a great job at it. Their offensive line blocks and their defensive play. They don't make many mistakes, and we made a few mistakes in that second quarter, and it kind of got us down, got our momentum down, and we had to pick ourselves back up.
You talk about big plays in a lot of ball games and what they really mean. There in the first half, you're able to get some big plays there. Then you gave up some big plays. Was that really a topic of conversation, or was it more just kind of the little things that you were doing?
It was a little bit of the little things, but the big play is one of our. I mean, that's one of my pet peeves. I can't stand plays longer than 20 yards, and I really don't think our defense should be giving up plays more than 20 yards. I mean, if you do that in games, you get yourself in a bind, and so. What we've tried to do is we've tried to pride ourselves in not giving that up, and we did it in this first half of this game, and you can't do that in big-time games.
Absolutely. You will see the way the Lincoln Golden Bears got that final punch in this heavyweight knockout match in the second half. But first, the Lincoln Golden Bear marching band will take us to break. We're back with the Lincoln Playbook after this. We're back with the Lincoln Playbook. There you see the score heading into the third quarter. Coach is 24-17. You get the ball back. Talk about some of the things you wanted to see offensively.
Well, we just wanted to come out and start out fast, and we kind of had a little letdown. We had to punt back to them, and our defense came out and they were playing hard. They were doing a good job on their offensive line, getting us out of position and trying to make good plays.
Absolutely. You can tell they wanted to go right back to that run game. You talked about 32. You brought them up really well there.
Yes, sir. I mean, but I'm going to tell you something. This young kid, the Wooders kid, he's a phenomenal runner.
Right.
I mean, we saw it in tape, and our defense coordinator, right at, I think it was Thursday when we sat down with the kids, he was telling them, he said, this guy can move now, and he's slippery, and he does a good job on the field. I think he racked up a bunch of yards on this Friday night.
There they go to score again. So the first half really, I mean, the second half doesn't really start out the way you wanted it to, but then you get some really big time scores here by Jamaica Baker.
No, and then you get the ball in these guys' hands. They call him Touchdown Baker now. That's the story, but he's a phenomenal athlete. He's got some 4.4 speed. He had that clock in 2 combines this summer on these recruiting combines. I mean, he's just a speedy kid.
Right, and you also have the luxury of having your quarterback, Zay Caldwell, is a great runner, also a great passer. Found him on that same route there.
Yeah, and I mean, you talk about Zay and him are neck and neck as far as speed-wise. This was kind of the turning point of the game. This is when Big Dude stepped off on this run, and this is when momentum's kind of started turning our way. And Zay made a good read right here. He saw that the head rate wasn't open. I guess, as you could say, with Auburn.
Absolutely. It's 32-30 there, but you have to feel really good about the way you're playing both offensively and defensively.
You can kind of see the emotion coming back with our kids. You just saw it there. It's kind of, I mean, when these guys are alive, it's a lot of fun.
Right.
And I just don't like to see them with their head drop. And the one thing that we've got to do is we've got to learn we've become a great football team. So we've got to start doing the right things. I know we had a let down right there, but when we hold these forwards up, this quarter's ours, and that's what we want to. That's what we want to accomplish in this.
Absolutely. Talking, about this running back, and he's going to be a good one for a long time for them. But at the end of the day, you're able to get what you need and be able to bend, not break there, especially in the second half.
That's right. I mean, and that was when we finally got the momentum, I mean, you can tell right here, Jamario Howard has a long run right here, and I mean, this kid he's been electric every Friday night. I mean, I think we had 194 yards from 19 carries this game. I mean, he's playing both ways, and He'll never get tired. He's like the Energizer Bunny.
And it also shows the kind of conditioning he's in and your team is in to play so well in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing that we pride ourselves. We've been conditioning all summer long. That was one of the things. And I know they gripe and complain about their experience at the end of practice, and they gripe and complain about them this summer. But now it's starting to show up and it's starting to pay off. And these guys know it. And I mean, they tell me, Coach, we're running some more this week. And I said, okay, I'll take what you can give me.
And one of the things I always said about Michael Jordan back in the day is that he had a killer instinct. As soon as he saw that he could take charge, he did it. And that seems like that's the way this game went. As soon as you saw it, you felt it, you started taking it.
Our kids are starting to get a lot of emotion. I mean, when you have that in a football team and a lot of excitement, a lot of togetherness, this team can go as far as they want to go.
Absolutely. Big plays on defense that we talked about. Big D area, big interception. The interception puts you in good field position for another touchdown.
That's right. And we cap this thing off in just a minute with Warren and Zay. And I think at this point, Warren is about as tired as he could be. He came to the sideline and he wanted to finish the game out, and I was trying to get the backup quarterback in and let him have a little blow right here because he's having. I mean, a lot of our kids go both ways.
Right.
I mean, we're a little shallow on depth, but he finished the game out for us.
Absolutely. 44-32, your final score. Lincoln gets the win there, and Coach talked about that killer instinct earlier, talked about everything that goes into getting wins like this. Just talk about just the tenacity it took in the second half to really kind of make the second half your half.
Well, it takes a lot. Number one, you've got to have that idea in your head that no matter what happens, I'm gonna find a way to get through it. I'm gonna get through adversity. And I know a lot of people hear that from coaches a lot, but I preach it every day.
Right.
I said, guys, when things get hard, when things get tough, we've got to find a way to get through it. And our kids have bought into it.
Right. We talked a lot about Zay Caldwell. We saw him on the highlights. You'll see him coming up in our next segment right here on the Lincoln Playbook. Of course, our show is brought to you by a lot of fine sponsors. One of them is the Lincoln Booster Club. Proud to support the Lincoln Golden Bear football team and wish Coach Brad Wallace, his staff, and players the best of luck this season. Lincoln, as you know, is a close-knit, hard-working community, and the Lincoln Booster Club is a great reflection of the community as a whole. They meet each Monday evening at 6:30 p.m. at Rick's Crossroads Cafe. Any prospective member is welcome to attend. The cafe is located at the intersection of Highway 77 and 78 up on the hill. The Lincoln Booster Club also supports all sports at Lincoln High School. Back with more of the Playbook with Zay Caldwell coming up next. And welcome back into the Lincoln Playbook. You heard us talk about Zay Caldwell all day long and all show long. We're finally now joined with him here on set, the junior quarterback and junior DB for the Lincoln Golden Bears, one of the leaders of this team. And first off, Zay, you switched from a different position. You played a little bit of quarterback last year, but now you're the centerpiece, getting the ball every single play. Just talk about just the way the entire transition has gone for you, playing different positions to playing that quarterback where you played every single game.
When I was younger, playing junior B, Pee Wee ball, I grew up playing quarterback, and we had a quarterback already ahead of me when I came to high school. So I just stuck to my position at wide receiver and did my thing there.
You got a huge win last week over Alexandria. You were a big part of that win. You get out in that first half or that first quarter, scored 2 quick touchdowns, and then the second half, as you said earlier in the soundbite, the second quarter, you let them back in it, but then you were able to kind of get that knockout punch there at the second half. Talk about the way that game flowed.
Yeah, Alexandria's been a huge rivalry for us since we was little, and Coach came into the game talking about how can we overcome adversity, especially in the second half. We let down. We got up 14-0 real quick. In the second quarter, had a little let down a little bit. And when we went back into the locker room, Coach said, how can we overcome adversity? And we overcame it in the second half.
Absolutely. Last year you had, I think, 7 interceptions as a defensive player. Talk about the way playing quarterback really helps you out playing on the other side because you know what that other guy's looking for.
Yeah, Friday night, I seen a couple plays where wide receiver was giving his quarterback signs and signals, which I already knew because our coach does the same thing for us. Right.
When you I guess, analyze the way this team has played from the Pell City game all the way until this game, what are some of the things that stand out, some of the things you see yourself and you see this team doing well?
Yeah, we're maturing a whole lot. We still have a little good ways to go, but we came a long way since the Pell City game.
Coach, this is one of your leaders, one of the main guys for your football team. Talk about what Zay brings to the team and to the offense.
I mean, basically, number one is excitement. And
Right.
I mean, if anybody watches Auburn football, Nick Marshall's kind of their excitement. This is my excitement at
Right.
Lincoln. When he gets the ball in his hands, you never know what's going to happen. I mean, he gets himself out of bad situations with his wheels, and he throws good balls. I mean, he's going to put the ball on the money and not make many mistakes.
Right.
So that's going to be one of the things that hurt us. That won't hurt us in the game. The big thing that we've been working on with him is, I mean, at receiver you don't have all that pressure on you, and we're trying to keep him poised during
Right.
the game. And things are going to happen. You just got to keep your head throughout the game, and he's done a better job as the weeks progress. And I think at the beginning he was nervous, but I think he's taking on the role that, hey, I'm ready to do this now. This is our offense. This is the way we're going to do it.
Right. Talk about some of the weapons you have. Zay, you have obviously Jamario Howard is in the backfield with you. Also plays a little bit of receiver. You have Duranye Bell and Jamichael Baker. Just talk about some of the talent you have around you on the offense.
Jamichael Baker, the man's got amazing speed.
Right.
Man, he'll go neck to neck every day at practice, try to see who's the fastest. You get in the ball out in space, he'll go score for you. And Duranye Bell, he runs the ball real hard. Jamario, he has aloofness to him. He's short, people can't see him. he hits the holes real hard.
Absolutely. Coach, you now look ahead and you have Anniston coming up. You know, it's another big region game. It's another big rivalry game. You know, Zay was talking about rivals, and Alexandria and Lincoln are two of the schools, or Alexandria and Anniston, two of the schools that bumped up with you guys from Class 4A. Just talk about just this big game coming up.
I tell you what, I mean, counting last week, 3 weeks that we've got, I mean, it's like rivalry. And our kids are up for the challenge. These guys are very athletic,
Right.
and that's the main thing that concerns us, especially defensively. I mean, receiver-wise, quarterback-wise, and tailback-wise. Their offensive line, they're always going to be big up there, up front, and they do things very well. Offensively, we've got to establish ourselves, and we've got to do the right things. We're still making some young mistakes, which I understand that a little bit, because I mean, like I've said since week one, we're growing as a team, we're growing as a line,
Right.
and so we're going to have to keep getting better up front, and we're going to have to cut down on the little mistakes and the small mistakes, and that's going to take time.
Zay, you've played against Anniston a couple of times now. Talk about what you've seen on them, what you know about them, their speed and their power, and just everything that you know about Anniston heading into it. I know you haven't watched a lot of film on them just yet.
Coming into Anniston, you know they're going to have great speed, always going to be big up front. Quarterback, I think they still have the same quarterback, number 4 from last year.
Right.
Yeah, they got a new running back. He runs the ball hard, he's quick, he's fast. We're going to have to wrap up this week.
Absolutely. Talk about some of the things you like to do off the field. Zay, obviously, you're a quarterback, so you have to do a lot of concentrating on football, but talk about some of the things you really enjoy off the field as well.
First of all, my Saturday mornings be tough, man. Be sore. I make my way up to the school every
Right.
Saturday morning, go see the trainer, let her check me out. And after that, I just hang out with my family and my friends, and then come to school on Sundays and watch film.
You also have a lot of, sports you play outside of football as well.
I do baseball during the summertime while I'm not doing football. I do basketball a little bit. I do a little bit of track too.
Absolutely. Coach, you now look ahead at this region. You don't want to look so far ahead in the playoffs and whatnot, but this is the last region game before you go into your big rivalry game. As we take a look at the Class 5A Region 6 standings, just talk about just the way you sit after 3 games and the way everything's rolling.
Well, it's always good to be at the top, but there's always somebody down below that's going to try to knock you off. And the one thing that we got to do is we got to maintain a clear head, and we've got to go into these games with a great mindset that, hey, we've got to take one game at a time and take our steps. I mean, we're in step 4 that's coming up this week, and we're just trying to make ourselves get better and better as the weeks progress. And I think I said it last week, we're trying to be the best football team at the end of the season, and we're trying to take steps to get there as we go.
Absolutely. The Lincoln Golden Bears will play Anniston in the fourth regular season game, 3rd region game of the season. Head out to Keith Howard Memorial Stadium for a big game as Anniston and Lincoln hook up for another Class 5A Region 6 game. For Zay Caldwell, thank you so much for joining us. Huge game today. Also, Coach Brad Wallace and Gary Mattingani. Special thanks also to Chad Barnett, who shot this week's highlights of the Lincoln Playbook. We will see you here next week. God bless.